Welcome. How's everyone doing? It is December 17th, 2025. This is RambleCast. I'm your host, Cody Toombs, and with me, I have Corbin Davenport.
Hello.
So, may as well just say it up front. I was looking at the next couple of weeks, and realistically, I don't think anyone is going to be popping by on Christmas Eve day to listen to a live stream, or at least the odds are low. And the same happens to go for a New Year's Eve day live stream. So right now, I'm predicting RambleCast will probably be on hold until CES the following week. I don't know that for sure yet. There's a chance maybe I'll do like something on the side, maybe even like a quick news thing or something. I don't know. I'm still working on possible thoughts, but for right now, I'm going to predict those are probably going to be off days. That being said, game streams will still be going. And I will also have a couple of other videos going up on my other channel, which I'll be publishing, or I'll be linking to those also in the Discord when they go live. Let's see, game stream on the 24th and 31st. I'll go with maybe. I haven't decided yet. And it does depend a little bit on like schedules and what other things I may have to do, but for the most part, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, there's a decent chance. But yeah, so just that being said, probably not going to have a traditional RambleCast on those days. So yeah, that kind of covers that. Let's see. So also, since we are getting into Christmas and this will be the last stream of the year, we are definitely going to cover some current topics, but I figured we'd also kind of just babble a little bit about the more conventional stuff, you know, the typical end of year, what did tech do to us, for us, with us this year kind of stuff. And well, Corbin, I know you're going to be heading home for the holidays. How's that drive going to go? What are you taking with you? What things are going to make your drive better? I totally am springing this on him. He the most he knew is, I was going to say, you know, what tech stuff have we had or done throughout the year, but he didn't know much beyond that.
I mean, at this point, it's usually just my laptop, which is my M4 Pro, MacBook Pro. Maybe my Nook too, to read some books, but I'm not bringing a ton of stuff because every time I do, I'm like, I actually don't end up having time to I don't have any downtime, so I don't quite get to that. But yeah, I don't really have any designated travel tech. I have my backpack that I use for all travel stuff, and I now do the thing of leaving chargers and a couple cables in the bag at all times, which is great, because otherwise I will forget some cable. I have the one I've liked for the last couple of years is just a random Anchor USB-C wall charger that just has like 4 ports on it. It doesn't even charge that quickly, which wasn't an issue when I just had a MacBook Air, but now definitely charges my MacBook Pro slowly. So if I remember, I chuck in my laptop charger too. But I don't really have any interesting travel tech. Honestly, the best travel item I have got in a long time is just my absolutely massive water bottle that I call the big jug. Actually, I can get the big jug. It's over here. Uh, Big Jug. Okay. This is Big Jug. It's gonna get cut off
Oh,
by the.
wow. It just fully disappeared in view for a second.
Yeah. So this is Big Jug. I just got it at Target. Um, but it is absolutely massive water bottle because when you're driving on the U.S. highway system, there are rest stops, but the availability of water at any of those, especially uh, more
Safe
remote
drinking
ones,
water.
is questionable. Yeah, because they're all in the middle of nowhere. They probably don't have like actual water lines out there. It's just getting boiled by some offsite thing.
For what it's worth, that
So
might actually be a lot cleaner than getting it from
yeah,
official water.
it's definitely questionable, and I don't want to buy water bottles while I'm doing it. So I literally just fill up this entire thing, and by the time I get there, there's usually still some water in there, and that's been pretty cool. Especially also when I was bringing my dog with me, and I'm just stopping. I'm drinking water. I'm pouring some in the little fold out bowl thing for her, rocking and rolling. So those are pretty cool. I highly recommend large water bottle.
That makes sense. I get that. Um, let's
And the
see.
chat mentioned I have a 100-watt Anchor Nano laptop charger. Yeah, I'll eventually get a higher power multiple port one because otherwise my laptop does charge very, very slowly. But for now, I'm just chucking my MacBook charger in the bag, and hopefully I don't forget to do that at some point.
Makes sense. Um, yeah. I can't say that. I don't know. It's weird, but I don't know what things have really been quite as impactful in that sense. Or well, I guess I don't have anything in the way of like water jug that has been particularly special to me. Um, let's see. Since I've been going out and shooting a bit more video out in the world, um, one of the things, and this isn't a new thing by any stretch, but one of the things I've been a big fan of over the last few weeks for sure. It's actually this. It's kind of a tripod for just whatever. Typical little small tripod kind of thing. But what's cool about it is it also extends out like this.
Ooh.
So you can raise it up, actually have some elevation to it. Plus, in one of the legs is hidden this little clip that sticks out. So what you can do is, like on the side of a car window, you can just like prop this thing up and it hangs by this 1 foot and stays perfectly positioned. It obviously, you can orient a camera in pretty much any way. This thing has been super useful. So, and obviously, it's also just kind of a good handheld sort of thing if you just need that and don't need it as a tripod. So yeah, I've been using that. This style, this design is made by a company called PGY Tech. I forgot to do this in advance and I was a little unprepared, but I'll actually put a link to get this thing on my website later. Let's see.
Yeah, I've been on the same Amazon Basics tripod for years. It's fine.
Well,
it does the job. It's not compact at all though. It's actually it's just normal size. Over here. Behold. Just a normal guy. And right now I've got the moment buttons on it, so I can just do pop.
Yeah, I do have a few of those moment mounts.
So
Strangely, I don't
nice.
use them a ton, but it's nothing wrong with them so much as uh, a lot of times I just want a mount that fully clamps onto the phone. That way, if I pick up a tripod and move it around, um, I don't want to like pull the phone off of it, like slap it in my pocket or whatever, carry the tripod around. And I don't want to carry the tripod around with the phone on there because that's definitely not going to stay there for, if you bump it or whatever. So yeah, um, I haven't been using them a lot for that, but as I start shooting more in my house, I think I'll actually end up using it quite a bit. Um, it, Funny enough, in my house, I do actually use this other tripod a lot more often than the one I just showed. This is a cheap little nothing kind of tripod. Literally, like the legs. This thing I think costs like $15 or whatever. Um, the legs come out like a whole inch and a half or something. Um, and this has been weirdly good for both action cameras and a full size camera. It extends up also like maybe 2 inches. It's it's junk, but it's been a weirdly useful little tripod just to like set on top of a desk. Um, and then I have a few other tripods. None of them I like full size tripods, none of which I love. They're all good, but none of them make me go, "Oh, this is the tripod that I would recommend at like this price point." I don't know. They're all good. They're all fine. Just I don't think any of them are, "Oh, no, these are the ones to get." Um Tripods feel like one of those technologies or product categories that they got they got really good, and then everyone's like, "Okay, we'll just mix and match all the different little recipe options for making one of these, and people can just decide among which recipe options they like." And I think it has resulted in none of them being perfect, but none of them are bad.
Yeah, I was thinking about the writing this review for a Razer webcam where I was like, yeah, we still kind of got like okay webcam like 10, 15 years ago. They've not gotten appreciably better since then, except in like very specific use cases of like you're streaming and you can use a high resolution 60 fps input in a meaningful way. But for everyone else, it's like, no, you need like some kind of webcam and decent light and you're fine. At that point everyone looks the same,
Yeah. Yeah,
because
and
Google Meet and Zoom and everyone else just compress everything in the high heaven anyway. So
yeah. Yeah, it's a little too true. Um Funny enough, okay, so as I've mentioned on here before, I've obviously mentioned this several times. I also was invited into Vine this year, and so as a result, I've had a pretty steady
you're making
stream.
a lot of 6-second clips.
Honestly, I might start. I have toyed with the idea. Um, but one of the things that has been great about Vine is uh, it has solved one of the dumbest problems in one of the easiest ways, which is uh, batteries. I can't tell you how much I have just had to go through, or I can't express how much I've had to carry around like battery banks to kind of solve the fact that various devices might just not have enough battery life to them with the battery that comes with the product. And I could always buy new batteries, but if you buy the official batteries, they tend to always cost too much. And if you buy unofficial batteries, well, who knows what the quality is. And this is hardly a solution I could recommend to most people, but what has been great is I now have something to the tune of like 10 different batteries that fit my Sony camera. I have probably about 7 or 8 batteries that fit my DJI action camera. About okay, I'm gonna have to find that one later. But I've got a few batteries for each of my other action cameras. Basically, this has been great just because now I don't have to worry about this. None of the batteries are great, but they're all good enough. So anytime I want, if like I'm worried about a battery maybe not being reliable for, I don't know, an hour and a half of recording, that's okay. If I can record for 40 minutes on a battery and just pop it out, doesn't matter if it's half full, I can pop it out, throw it in a bag, pop in a new one, I'm good to go. That, honestly, it's stupid, but it's such a time saver. And obviously the cost, since I'm doing Vine reviews on these, is nothing. But even outside of that, it really highlights the, like right now, how well you can do if you just buy like some relatively budget off-brand batteries and get away with like just use a few of them. Don't expect great, just expect good enough. And if you have enough of them, good enough is great. Like it actually just solves the problem. Again, it's dumb. That shouldn't be the answer, but it kind of is. Buying a few off-brand batteries is so much cheaper than buying a couple of official batteries.
Yeah, I'm not really using my Sony Alpha enough to be hot swapping batteries. I'm actually not sure if I have more than one that's working. I think I just had the one it came with, and then I switched to using a spare. But I am hot swapping my rechargeable AA and AAA batteries and everything. Those rock.
Yeah,
I'm using those in so much stuff. It's awesome.
Which I can't think of too many scenarios where we're ever actually going to cross paths, but if we ever do, remind me, and I've got a few extra batteries that would fit yours.
You got your bundle of batteries?
Well, those are it's actually batteries that I bought well before Vine. I just had, like, I saw various batteries with really good prices, and it's like, I need more for the A6000 style of camera. And since I'm on an A7, it's an A7 III. I really love to upgrade that. But yeah, it uses a larger battery, so battery life in general is just better. But not only that, since the old batteries don't fit, like I still have a camera that can use those, I just never use it. I've actually thought about turning that into a webcam, but some other day.
I'm back to my tried and true Logitech C920 or whatever it's called, the webcam that everyone bought 15 years ago.
Yep.
Because it has less aggressive autofocus than the Razer one I just reviewed that cost $200. And it's fine. It's fine. I've got this old webcam. I've got my light. Looks fine. I've got my Mac trying as hard as I can to replace my background with the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. Hoopy said that's what I've got too. We've all got it. We've all got the same webcam. Because you don't need another one. It's still fine. That's what big webcam doesn't want you to know, is that you don't have to buy another one. You just get a really nice light and you're good.
Yes.
I've written this in like 5 articles by now, and I'm gonna keep speaking my truth. Unless you are one of the people who did not have a webcam in like early remote from home pandemic, and you were like, shit, I need a webcam, and the only one available was like the worst 720p webcam that China could shit out, then you probably would get you probably would benefit from something nicer. But everyone else is fine.
For the most part, yeah. It also, I will add, if you've been using the MacBook webcam,
Mm.
It's workable, but yeah, that is
The
a
one,
huge step down.
yeah, the one on the newer MacBook Airs and Pros, I think is fine. The issue is still the angle.
Yeah.
It's just like inherent to the design. It's not gonna, you can't really fix that. It's always gonna be a little bit of a neck cam. So,
Well, you could
um,
prop your MacBook up at
yeah,
angles or positions where it's not going to be bad, but yeah, that's just well, okay, it's funny I say it, or it's funny I make sounds about that and kind of imply it's bad. Though in all seriousness, the my MacBook, it's not the screen I actively am using right now. It's more of a side screen since I'm using the ultra wide in front of me, and my webcam is directly on top of the ultra wide. But my MacBook webcam is, or my MacBook itself is on top of a few other things on my desk, so it's raised up, and it just so happens that the webcam, the stupid notch, which Apple, listen to me, Apple, listen. I don't even want the webcam in the laptop in the first place. Please just get rid of this stupid notch. Thank you. Okay, anyway, as it turns out, that webcam, I would say, is almost exactly 1 inch, maybe not even 1 inch below what my actual webcam is at, like in terms of elevation.
mm-hmm.
It's obviously also way over to the side, so, different angle, but like, yeah, it's basically same elevation, almost exactly. So it would not be a neck cam on me, but that's not really. I don't think that's how most people would have their laptops set up.
Yeah. Ubi said, shout out to my last Windows laptop that had the webcam as a retractable deal in the function row. I remember those. I didn't have that, but my laptop before my MacBook is this guy. Before I had the MacBook that before I had the MacBook and before the Surface laptop that I sold in 3 months for the MacBook, my laptop was this Dell XPS 13, which still has a Google I/O sticker on it, and a quote from The Office. That's where I was in my life at the time. And I mostly like this laptop. Big issue was the webcam is right here. That's what Dell was doing.
Yep.
That was the net cam to end all net cams. That was horrific. So I'm glad we've all moved on from that for the most part.
You say that, but I don't know that that's entirely dead yet.
For the most part, I mean, even when you put it at the top, I think at normal table height, it's still a net cam. But that was like just completely unusable. I don't know who thought that was a good idea.
Also, I commend your effort to refer to it as the neck cam, because I certainly remember at the time almost everyone referred to it as the boob cam.
Yeah, I mean, if I had boobs, that would probably be what my experience would be.
Well, because I remember, I'm not gonna say who it was, but I do remember there were a couple of Android police meetings that would start, and there was one person who definitely did have one of those laptops, and it every time the meetings would start, the first thing you would see is, oh, well, there's chest. Okay. No one's saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
No one's saying anything. No one's saying anything. Oh, good, they figured it out. Okay, they moved their screen. Good for them. Yeah, it was always one of those things that would start and just take a weirdly long time for somebody to catch on.
Yeah, that's up there with like curved smartphone displays, where I'm like, that was just the stupidest idea. I'm so glad, it took far longer than it should have for everyone to realize that was dumb. The correct time to realize that was during R&D, but
yeah,
in the end, we got back to a normal webcam placement, and we stopped having phones that have like the buttons cut off. Um,
Yeah, there's still a lot of things that could stand to be fixed, but yeah.
yeah, I want my headphone jack back.
Yeah, good luck with that one. Um, though I sit here all the time, like if anyone ever tried to get me to use headphones that were purely wireless, good luck. Pretty sure that day is never really going to come. I'm going to be wired for a very, very long time. And I don't think anyone's actually making the argument that desktop use should be wireless.
Yes, they are,
Yeah, but they're wrong.
because the internet has infinite opinions. But yeah, I I mean, I'm on Bluetooth right now because this is an acceptable amount of lag, and I'm gonna get up a couple more times probably, and it's really annoying to take it on and off. But yes, I am wired when it's something that's not to say this isn't important, but you know what I mean. Like when low latency is critical. I'm not trying to play video games over Bluetooth necessarily.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
Hoopy said counterpoint desktop wireless with 2.4. Yeah, that's I mean that's fine. That's like next to no latency, but you still have the issue of, now it's a thing to charge, and eventually it will break apart and be annoying.
yeah, so part of it is definitely the charging thing, because I don't mind that on some stuff. Headphones, I think I mind it a bit more. Latency, though, even if you're talking 2.4 gigahertz, I'm going to go on record as saying, nope, still not good enough. Because, number one, try editing video. Just try it. You will hate life. Doing any sort of video editing, assuming you have dialogue playing alongside it. If it's just music, probably not a big deal, though that can depend if you're editing to the beat of the music. Right. Okay, yes, you won't be editing video. Plenty of people will be. And I will also argue that this also applies with games. Any game that has at least decent, if not great, audio feedback, yeah, you're still going to notice lag. You will still feel it. And I know that this doesn't apply to all games. In fact, there's a lot of games that very much doesn't matter on. I think back to when I played a lot of RTS games. Nobody cared, or no one would have cared if, like in Age of Empires, if you had a quarter-second lag behind selecting a bunch of troops and the troops all go, ha, or whatever, and oh no, it's a little late. Yeah, no one cares. It'd be a bigger deal in like Overwatch, where even just the sound of a gunshot or something really factors into like how you time movement. So yeah, I think that's kind of the thing is even the smallest amounts of latency would drive me nuts. So yeah, too many of the things I do, I need to have perfect like wired latency. Speaking of latency, I've got the YouTube dashboard open next to me so I can, see things happening. And holy crap, it is somehow, I don't know why, it was 6 minutes behind. So I just now saw Corbin get up and sit back down with the laptop with the boob cam. And yeah, he's now showing it off. So yeah, thank you YouTube dashboard for inexplicably being super, super far behind. Anyway,
Yeah, I would like a new 2.4 gigahertz headset, because it was fine for me when I was using them for games and video editing and stuff, but it was not built super well, so it eventually fell apart. And I don't know how it would work now necessarily, because my apartment is awash in 2.4 gigahertz bandwidth congestion, which is why I spent too much money to buy two Wi-Fi 7 routers that can do 6 gigahertz, so I can use that as much as possible.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see. What else have I been kind of obsessive or using too much lately? Actually, speaking of gaming, I think this is just worth throwing in there. A good controller that isn't one of the that isn't made by Microsoft. Just a controller that's good. It's especially one that doesn't use Microsoft's really terrible layout. Corbin, actually, you just switched from Xbox to PlayStation recently. How do you feel about the Microsoft Xbox layout that has the that swaps the place of the D-pad and the left stick versus the PlayStation layout where the two sticks are down like front and center and then D-pad is off to the back left? Where do you stand on this?
I don't think I have a strong opinion. It's just kind of similar to my experience every time I was reviewing phones, where for a while I'd be like, oh, this is kind of weird, and then like a week later it's normal. So I don't think I have a strong opinion there. I will say the rest of the controller definitely feels more well built than the Xbox controller. The Xbox controller does feel more cheap plasticky. I'm not sure if it's just the weight or something else. I will say though, I would prefer replaceable batteries versus the internal rechargeable battery that Sony does.
I'll grant you that one.
Especially because I have rechargeable AA's, so whenever it got low, I just pop them out and then I have full charge again. But
I'm not necessarily going to argue for the use of the standard AA or AAA, well, AA sizes. I get it, but I kind of hate how quickly those get worn out, and I still want rechargeable batteries.
Right, just like some other mechanism would be like they use for the cameras.
Yeah, I was literally going to
the same.
Hold up. Here's the camera for the battery for my Sony camera, or well, one of the off-brand batteries, and this is pretty great battery life, especially for a controller. Like, it can keep a camera going for at least a couple of hours with the screen on and sensor running. This could easily run a controller for another couple of hours. Give me something that's this size that could plug into the back of the controller. It's rechargeable. It's an easy enough battery to use. Just give me something like that you can plug right into the back of the controller. Because I have changed the internal battery on Sony's official controllers a few times, and oh no, that is such a miserable experience. That's it. I mean, it's not the hardest thing in the world, but it's such a pain. Nobody should have to do that. Just dismantling an entire controller, removing multiple parts, also that you can replace a battery that honestly should have just been in a dedicated compartment. There's no way that made sense. So yeah, I am of the opinion that yes, a replaceable cartridge battery is probably the right answer.
Yeah. Also on the controller front, I do still have my 8-bit DOE wired controller for when I use on the computer, because I don't want to constantly repair Bluetooth, and they're kind of janky on Mac anyway.
Yeah. Which notably the controller I'm using is an 8-bit DOE Pro 2, I believe it's called. And yeah, it as far as I'm concerned, it fixes the Xbox having a terrible layout. But it is also a wired.
You don't have a pile of 40 Stadia controllers. Yeah, now I have FOMO. I should have got 40 Stadia controllers when no one wanted them.
I do have a few of those lying around, but I don't have. Uh, I mean, I've updated all of them so they're all capable of doing the Bluetooth connection, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
think I've used them more than just to test them. And then after that, I either put them back in their boxes, or I think I have one of them in the drawer next to me, like buried under a couple of other things. That's about it. I don't really have enough use for them.
Well, you can throw that in the box with some of the batteries.
There we go.
And but when USPS is like, "Hey, how many batteries are in the box?" And you're like, "I don't know."
Um, uh,
It's very flammable.
there was actually a bit of a weird incident. This is so distantly related, but there was a weird incident when I was sending a NAS to somebody. I think it was the one I sent to you. They the guy there asked me like, are there any batteries in this? And I'm like, I mean, technically there's like a clock battery. That's it. Like it literally just keeps a clock functioning. That's the only thing in there. And he's like, huh, does that require a sticker? And the guy is just like getting super caught up in this, and it's like, dude, no. Like, it doesn't. Nobody cares. That's not the kind of battery they're worried about. They're worried about you shipping a battery that's going to be like explosive levels of size,
Right.
not a battery that, oh no, it leaked and
Or past
like it might be it might cause
the
cancer to somebody
airline,
someday. Like that's not the battery
yeah,
anyone's worried about.
or at least past the whatever airline limit it is, so that they can check it on
Yeah.
their delivery planes without potential issues.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I've had multiple companies send me drones that have batteries that actually have a reputation for being problematic, and they never had a problem sending those. But oh no, something the size of a fingernail, that's scary. Yeah. Oh, shipping is fun. Um, I'm sure the guy was just new and didn't know any better. And eventually, one of his coworkers did come over and was like, "What do you need to figure out?" And I'm like, "Yeah, look, there's a tiny little battery in this thing, and it keeps an internal clock. That's all it is. It's like maybe it's not even one of those CR 2032. Is that the right number? I think. It's not even one of those." And he's like,
Yeah,
"Oh
little
yeah, nobody
CMOS
cares."
battery guy. Yeah.
So,
Well,
shall we move to topics?
yeah, that's fine.
Unless there's anything else you wanted to mention.
No, I mean, I did a couple like big tech purchases and consolidations this year because I sold the Xbox to get a PS5, and I sold my M1 Mac Mini and M1 MacBook Air to consolidate down to the before mentioned M4 Pro MacBook Pro, and that's been pretty sweet. It's nice because I got a Thunderbolt dock to review around the same time, so when I'm at my desk like this, I just plug in the dock, and it's my desktop computer, and then I unplug it and I go somewhere else, and it's very nice. And yeah, not much beyond that. I will say, because we'll also get to VR stuff later. I've been getting more into VR this year, and that's been fun. That's been a positive experience hanging with some kind folks in there. So that's always nice. I feel like,
You mean better than playing with Overwatch and the people who are yelling and screaming
right.
at you for being...
It's a different vibe, yes. But I that is something like I would like to write about if I can, like, turn it into a larger, more coherent topic of like, yeah, everyone like complains about technology and how much it sucks these days, and like a lot of it does suck, but also a lot of it doesn't.
Mhm.
There's still like some really cool hardware and software being built that doesn't get as much attention. And not to necessarily negate the like thing where basically anyone who buys a computer now is in for a terrible experience because of like the out of box setup on your average Windows PC. But there is a glimmer of hope in many places. So it's a nice I don't know what the term is, but like something to fight away the cynicism when it gets to be a little bit too much. It's like, there's still some good stuff happening here.
Okay, so I'm gonna put kind of a weird spin on this. Well, and I've got a follow up to what you said in a second, but it is actually kind of funny. I've seen technology go through enough phases through the years where it often seems like we get things to a certain point, like everything improves year over year, or every few years or whatever. We kind of keep climbing closer and closer to this sort of ideal, perfect position where things are great. And just before we get there, the rug gets pulled out from under and some new thing happens. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, not everything's bad again. Or maybe not everything's bad, but all of a sudden we need to resolve the problems of previous years all over again. That kind of happened with software being built for desktops when all of a sudden smartphones came along. Because we had this position where the processors were actually getting pretty fast. We had enough RAM in a lot of computers. We had storage solutions that, okay, maybe those could have gotten a little bit better at the time, but there was this point where all of a sudden everyone's like, you know what? Computers are plugged in all the time. Laptops have okay battery life, and you can usually plug those in wherever you go. We've kind of solved this, and now we can start using reliably programming languages that maybe aren't as efficient, but they make programming so much faster. And 5 minutes later, hey everyone, here's an iPhone. Do you want to build for it? Here's Objective-C. Have fun. And all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, we need to go back to the basics. And then Android came along, and that was another really quick like slap in the face saying, yeah, you can still use a high-level language, but you better optimize the living crap out of it, because otherwise it's going to run like hot garbage. In fact, it's probably still going to run like hot garbage anyway, even if you optimize it. And so yeah, we went through another 10 years of, okay, let's try to find a way to build things quickly while also try to make them super efficient. And those two things are at odds. Or at least mostly were. Obviously, things have gotten a lot better in that regard, and maybe we're gonna come out of that, but I felt like it all happened again when watches came along. And give it time. Well, look, I mean, we're about to enter XR headsets and glasses and that whole ecosystem where battery life is horrendously bad, and you obviously don't have a lot of space for components to get warm, especially not on your face. So yeah, we're about to re-enter this phase yet again, where everything needs to be more efficient, more optimized, and yet do really crazy things like object recognition in fractions of a second. And it's going to have to be able to do so much more processing than certainly a watch has ever had to do, and on par with, if not maybe even more than what phones have to do. So all that stuff kind of happened there. And then we can look to more a different paradigm that's going on right now, and this kind of brings it a little bit back to what you were saying. Everything sucks now. Well, everything sucks now because suddenly we're in this position where instead of companies hiring tons and tons of developers and building really good software, or at least trying to build decent software, a lot of companies are just firing everyone and trying to build with AI, and they're rushing everything along. And sure, they're building quickly, but the quality is crap. So I think we're going to recenter at a position where making good things again is necessary. And companies are obviously coming back around to that now. But right now we're definitely going back through one of those phases of, yeah, everything's crap again. We need to get through that and sort of relearn the lessons of the past.
I mean, I'm not even sure if it's necessarily technical infrastructure issue, more just line must go up disease.
That too.
Like my
sure.
my go-to example here is like how insufferable sharing links on like any smartphone app now is.
I know what
Where
happened.
like
That used to be like one of
every
the easiest things.
every single one of them wants to put fucking tracking parameters in the link, and they want to do like their own little menu with like all of their options first, and I have to click another one to get the whole, all the apps on my phone. um and that's definitely a key difference between like mainstream smartphone apps and like all of the like more niche ones I use, where it's like, okay, if I want to share from Spotify or YouTube Music, I gotta delete all this crap it's adding at the end. And it's like, oh, I click the share button in my Mastodon app. It's just the link. I don't have to do anything else. So again, goes back to the like, there's good tech and good projects out there. It's just not the ones that are, gunning for an IPO or already publicly traded.
Yeah, for sure. Which so I just skimmed through the chat also, and a couple of lightning quick comments. Hoopy, you said what comes after these implants? I don't know if Corbin was there for this, but I actually advocated for and got into a real argument with some of the other higher up members at Android Police once, basically saying, look, just because we have wearables today doesn't mean we aren't going to have implantables tomorrow. I was very insistent. Implantables will someday become a topic that we just have to make space for. And I'm not going to name names, but you can probably guess who they are. I had a few people explicitly saying, no, you're wrong. We're never going to have implantables. Like, that's never going to be a topic anybody wants to talk about. And it's like, how on earth you consider yourself in technology and this is a take you have? Good job being wrong, like dying on the hill of being this wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it'll happen. It's just not something I will be within 500 miles of ever.
Good luck with that too.
I'm okay being the I don't know what the right term is, but I'm okay staying away from that one. I'm good. If society progresses to the point where that one is necessary, I'm gonna go live in the forest.
You know what? I get it, and given the way that wearables have gone so far, I really get it. But I will say this, and I've said it. Actually, I think when we did a like year-end conversation like a year or two ago, I made this exact point. Implantables, the minute that we can replace people's eyes, sign me up. My eyes are terrible. I have horrendously bad vision. I am so down for having my eyes replaced. Maybe not literal first gen stuff, but I would love to be able to get my eyes replaced because holy crap, not wearing glasses would be great. Having some of the features that I think would come with replacing eyes would be awesome. And I think it goes.
You got the HUD.
I was gonna say, I think it goes without saying that all the features that we're excited to have in like AR and XR glasses, I want that in my eyes. That like
you've got the HUD. It cuts to your vision, and it looks exactly like the Terminator 2 vision, where it's like doing scan lines and making outlines of everyone.
Okay, I mean, sure, that sounds neat and all, but I really just want to have a little digital pet living off in the bottom corner of my vision. And Yeah. I want my vision to be more like a Twitch stream. That's all I'm saying. I'm kidding, of course. Not in any way, shape, or form do I want this. But I do actually want... I want to be able to replace my eyesight. Um, can't wait for the Samsung Galaxy Bonsai Buddy. It's so boy. Um, weirdly, I could see that too. But yeah, I'm implantables. I don't want everything, but I sure as hell want certain things. And I don't think that that's a bad idea at all. Which isn't to say that there aren't some very cringy implantables I'm sure people will have, but that's a conversation for a different time. Suddenly I'm just literally picturing somebody with like a speaker built into their arm or shoulder or something, and I don't know. That's what the kids will want someday.
Yeah, whatever technology enables people to have phone calls again where they're not on speakerphone, that'd be cool.
Yes, that would be great.
I feel like that's just everyone now.
Actually,
Like I'm not actually sure if the last time I've seen someone in public do like a phone call on their phone. It's always like they're on FaceTime or something and their phone speaker is turned up all the way.
oh yeah, no, that's the worst.
Although it is like, observation bias, because obviously if they're being discreet about it, I would be less likely to notice it. So
sure. Okay, I will add to that. If we can reach the point of technology where you don't have to speak in order to be on a phone call, that's pinnacle right there. That is the high point. If you can be on a phone call and just think what you're going to say, and the other side hears it said in your voice, done. That will be heaven, because all of a sudden
that's gonna get messy with the internal dialogue, though.
Well,
I'm gonna click the wrong button and it's gonna start broadcasting everything, I think, and then I get fired.
Well, with everything,
it just switches to the microphone, and it's like, screw all you guys, I hate this place.
But I mean, I'm assuming we have something a little bit more intelligent than that, but I don't know, maybe not. So yeah, that's, I don't know. I want that kind of a thing to improve. And yes, give us implants for doing some of this stuff well. I know there will be growing pains with it, but I think there's a potential for it to be great.
I'm good.
I forget what else.
You can have them.
Okay, I'll take yours.
Okay.
Just whenever you sign up to get in line and then decide you don't want them, I'll take your spot.
Right. You mail me your bundle of batteries, and I mail you the Terminator eyes, and it's a fair trade.
I'm down for that trade.
Yeah. So speaking of trading,
nice transition.
Yeah. So no more insightful conversation. It's time to dunk. So there's been this whole thing about Warner trying to sell itself off to the highest bidder, and that appeared to be Netflix. And then there was an internal back and forth where they were talking with Netflix, they were talking with Paramount Skydance, and they eventually went with Netflix's offer, which was they want to buy specifically the movie and TV parts and HBO Max, not so much everything else.
Well,
and then
it's basically the studios and the streaming service. They're not really looking for, if I understand it correctly, and I might have this wrong, I believe they're not looking for the TV channels that are owned, and they're not looking for, I believe it's the production company. I'm not sure on that. I couldn't
Okay.
tell if the production company was considered part of their studios, but
Yeah,
yeah,
the cable channels were still going to get spun off. They were
right.
going to do that anyway, and it does not include Warner Games. So,
Oh yeah, yeah,
um,
that too.
yeah. Um,
So
so that was the whole thing. So they are trying to get acquired by Netflix, and then Paramount was like, "Oh, what the hell? You skip right over us." And then they laid out some like dumb offer for like the entirety of Warner, back with like all this debt and other investments. And the latest drama is that Warner has rejected that takeover bid. They're super duper not interested. They are unmatching on Tinder. Um, they're still going for the deal with Netflix, which I don't know. This has been really bizarre because I already felt weird a couple years ago when uh, there was more media consolidation happening, where especially with Disney and Fox, I remember the conversation and discourse around that being totally different than it is now. Like back then, it was entirely based on a bunch of nerds being like, "Yeah, we can finally get X-Men in the MCU," and then like the discussion ended there. And then there was variants of that, like every time Disney and Sony got in like an argument about who owns Spider-Man, there was always like, "Well, Disney should just buy Sony, and then they don't have to do this anymore." And of course, like everyone who's aware of like antitrust laws, like clawing their eyes out of their skull. Um, but this time, it could very well be biased by my perception, my little corner of the internet, where I've tried to filter out as many dumb people as possible. But I'm not seeing anything like that this time around. Like the general consensus I've seen is just like, yeah, this kind of sucks. But Netflix is like slightly less bad than Paramount, um, which I think is probably fair. I don't know. Um, Either way, not great. And it is interesting that the discussion this time around feels entirely different, and I think more close to reality. Um,
well,
and
if you don't mind
maybe
me interjecting, I think a big
okay.
part. Well, okay, go ahead.
One more thing I'll add is I don't know if that's necessarily entirely that this is happening after so much consolidation. Now people are worried, or it's just general like billionaires suck, which is a uh,
Valid take.
is a perception that is growing. Like there's been like surveys of people that like, yeah, we need to tax these fuckers now. Or if it's just like every like media empire being so consolidated now that like I don't know if people are thinking in terms of like who owns what IP, because now it's just like it doesn't matter who owns it, it goes in Fortnite. Like you can companies can do these kinds of integrations without being a blob, so maybe that doesn't matter. I don't know, but it's been interesting seeing the difference.
So, well, one, I think it's worth interjecting, or well, I was going to interject with the point that this time, unlike most of the previous times, there's objectively a political component. Like, no question to it. Like, everybody knows. A big part of this is a company that has come out as basically unapologetically uh, right wing oriented. Not necessarily like full scale, full stop right winger. It's not like, they're. I was about to say it's not like they're airing uh, spots that glaze Charlie Kirk, but except they actually literally are. That just happened in the last week. But
Yeah, and when Disney bought Fox, they were specifically buying not the Fox News part.
yeah. And there was no political like, or no overarching political story to that. Whereas this time around, there's no question. Like, Paramount Skydance, that is fully linked with a political family. Well, not just political family, but certainly political influence, which was part of their bid. Like, straight up, they didn't say it in the clearest possible words, but they were not trying to be subtle. They were basically saying, look, if you go with us, we can make sure that this merger happens easily. It's not going to be a problem. Insert your grossest, like, stereotype Italian mobster voice here, but like they basically were almost saying it in kind of like that protection money sales pitch of, look, nothing bad'll happen if you go with us, but if you go with them,
No.
we can't promise how it's gonna play out. And wow, did I butcher that one. Anyway, yeah, so, you know, the funny thing is, and part of the reason that Warner Brothers fired back and rejected Paramount's bid was basically because they looked at Larry Ellis, or not Larry, but the Ellison family, and said, hey, the way that they're offering money, they can literally back out. Like, they might not actually pay even if the deal goes through, like, which is a mind-blowing reality in something like this, that's actually a thing that could happen. They basically also, they went on to say that part of the deal isn't as valuable as they made it sound like it is. Let's see. Where was the line? Okay. Yeah, so one of the things that Paramount asserted was that they're going to achieve $9 billion in cost synergies, and as a result, it would somehow be better for Hollywood. But then they asserted that the Netflix deal would make Hollywood weaker, whatever exactly that means. And none of that made sense. It wasn't a good argument. So basically they part of the offer was literally like the proposed, don't worry, somehow you'll just make $9 billion because we're just better for it, which was kind of a meaningless argument. Anyway, yeah, the board kind of just picked through a lot of it and said, look, you know, there are a big chunk of the investment is coming from Saudi Arabia and the UAE. A big chunk of it is coming from other investors from other places that are also outside of the country. So it would be giving up a ton of control to other countries for one of our biggest companies in the country. And it doesn't benefit nearly as much, and there are still a ton of risks. So yeah, Warner Brothers, their argument, let's just sell to Netflix, was actually a pretty solid, well-based argument, even if Netflix isn't offering quite as much. And that being said, it's not like the offer is bad. They're basically offering 26, or well, it's about 25 billion less to take over, admittedly still the most valuable parts of the company. But what remains is by itself, or what will remain under the Warner Brothers ownership, at least until they find a way to divest themselves of that too. What remains is actually probably worth a little bit more than 25 billion also. Now, whether or not it's going to be worth as much when they get rid of the most valuable parts, I don't know. But yeah, I think that I think Warner Brothers is making by far the right choice in not respecting the Paramount offer.
Yeah, I mean I don't know. It's just really gross. It's gross that this could even be like considered. I know, like, as soon, regardless of who was gonna buy Warner, like when this gets to the FTC approval stage, it's gonna be the most uh like obscene, obvious grifting and sucking up that we've ever seen. Like they're gonna make like 15 gold statues for Trump. They're gonna put Trump in the next Superman movie to make this merger happen. Um, it's gonna get real bad. And of course, like no matter who buys it, a bunch more people are gonna lose their jobs as usual.
Oh, of course.
Netflix was kind of like trying to stave off criticism of like they wouldn't, make every movie go straight to streaming, but who knows? So I don't know. It's pretty gross. But the United States has kind of decided not to really enforce anything. I mean, we already weren't enforcing anything. Like
No.
the T-Mobile and Sprint merger shouldn't have happened. Like 5 other mergers shouldn't have happened. Also, like Warner Bros. Specifically, this is the funniest. Like I'm jealous of the fact that Warner Bros. When it accumulates debt, it can just sell parts of it off. Because like AT&T bought Warner, and then they were like, now AT&T's losing money because cable TV has been on a decade-long slump at that time. Now it's 20 years. So it's like, all right, let's sell off Warner to pay our debt that we used to get Warner. And then Discovery buys it. And then Discovery's like, oh no, we have a lot of debt now. We need to get rid of Warner. It's just the fun. And then, like, before all this was announced, they were going to split themselves in half and assign most of the debt to the cable TV part. It's like, why can't I do that? Why can't I split in half legally, not physically? That would probably not be a pleasant experience. Why can't I split in half and then be like, this is Corbin 2. He pays the taxes now. Corbin 2 is suspiciously unavailable. Don't worry about it.
I mean, to be fair, if you incorporate correctly and do a little bit of Alex Jones stuff, I think you can do all that.
Yeah, Corbin 2 is a subsidiary in Panama. Don't worry about it.
But yeah, to your earlier point, the second link that I had in there, it had a direct quote from Trump saying that the market share could be a problem, and I'll address that in a second. But he then went on to say that he would be personally involved in the approval process, which, what? Like, that's...
Well, you gotta get the boss's approval.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what happens in my small government Republican administration. Is you ask the president every time you would like to do something. If Corbin's so great, why isn't there a Corbin 2?
Just wait.
No, I'm not having kids. That's not happening.
That didn't necessarily have to be a kid thing. That could be a clone thing.
That's true.
Anyway,
I mean, cloning would get probably a little bit weird too.
Yeah.
Again, that's why Corbin 2 is explicitly a legal entity, not a physical one.
I'll leave that one alone. So I will acknowledge this is the one thing that okay, look, when people brought up the question of if someone's going to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, who should it be? Which that was one of those questions, like anyone who asked that kind of immediately went into there's no good answer. Like any answer we give is kind of terrible. And it was just like when the same thing happened with Sprint. Every single person was like, look, in the ideal world, yeah, we'd love it if Sprint just kept operating as another carrier, and that way we get to have a lot of competition. But Sprint is also failing. Like, they can't seem to make money. They seem, at any time they try, they seem to lose more money. Either it's going to just slowly drown over the next decade, or it's going to get bought up by somebody. Whichever one happens, we still end up losing a competitor. So the answer is kind of just let somebody buy it now, and then at least there's some value, and they don't end up making things worse over time. And so I think that argument carried into this one as well. Like, obviously Warner Brothers Discovery has had some financial issues. I don't know that there's a good argument that they were necessarily going to fail. I think if they had somebody managing the company a little bit more intelligently, maybe not spending millions and millions of dollars making movies that they were going to cancel after they had completely finished them, that probably would have helped. But we have this company that was grossly mismanaged. It was on a path to failing eventually. And so I get it. There's a valid argument to be made for, if it's going to fail anyway, let somebody buy it. The funny thing about that is it leads to that subject of, like, market share. Because objectively, Netflix and HBO combined would actually result in roughly 33% of the US streaming market in terms of user count. Now, personally, I think that number is actually wrong, because you do have a fair portion of people who subscribe to both, and I think they're getting double counted. And whatever logical entity ends up coming out of this, whether it's two completely separate streaming services, I think we all know that's not going to happen. Or if Netflix ends up doing like a paid upgrade to HBO content, or maybe they just mix them all together and it's like Netflix is now just bigger. Have fun. Oh, by the way, we're raising prices by $1. Whatever the answer ends up being, I have a feeling it's not going to amount to 33% of the market, but it's still going to be a lot of people. And yes, that is undeniably going to put it ahead of Amazon Prime, which apparently, according to this article, is at 21% market share. And that's the second place leader by, I believe, quite a bit. I think Disney Plus is the next one up, and I swear I remember hearing Disney Plus was more like just like a little over 10%. I think they were sitting at something like 12. So
yeah, and Hoopy just brought up Amazon Prime is only on the list by technicality, though. Yeah, yes. All of them are kind of getting fudged by bundles, because it's like all of these are included with something else. Like, you know, definitely Amazon is the biggest winner of I'm subscribed to this against my will, for sure. But I don't know. I think if someone has to buy Warner, I want it to be the funniest option. Like, I think it'd be really cool if, like, I don't know, some like super industrial company that has nothing to do with this buys them. Like,
I was literally just going to say someone like General Mills,
General Motors, Ford. Oh, yeah. You know, yeah. one of them. I think if it was like, I don't give them to TSMC. I don't particularly care. I don't know. I think who
Intel.
Yeah,
yeah.
Would be
See, that's
funny.
That's sad and funny all in one.
That'd be pretty good.
Going back to the conversation from earlier that was happening in Discord, Google and YouTube would actually make a lot of sense for this, except then you also definitely get right back to but then doesn't that mean that they control way too much of the streaming market? It's just nobody considers YouTube part of that streaming market, except it kind of is.
I think give them to like Lockheed Martin. I think that'd be fun.
Oh wow,
Um,
wow.
just again,
I
I
mean,
want some
can a company
Lindsay.
crash and burn more? Well, no, that's Boeing. What am I saying?
Yeah.
Um,
No, but you can't do Boeing. Boeing doesn't have enough money for this. They're gonna get bought by
that hasn't
Netflix,
stopped them from
actually.
doing everything else under the sun.
Netflix is gonna buy Boeing. It's not gonna be the other way around.
Yeah, that's fair.
Uh, Hoopy said the guys on the VergeCast keep saying their bet is Walmart buys TikTok. Consider Walmart buys Warner Bros. Too. Well, Walmart owned was it Voodoo when it was under them?
Yes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was
Yeah,
Voodoo.
and then that got sold and became Fandango at Home, which I hate that name so
Well,
much.
it's not Fandango anymore anyway.
Yes, yeah, it is. The
Is
the
it?
the service where you buy movie tickets is Fandango. Voodoo turned into Fandango at Home.
But then it turned
And,
back into something else.
I don't think so. I think
Wait,
it's still Fandango at Home.
I'm pretty sure when I was covering this stuff, I thought it was switched back, or they announced it was going to. Something like that.
I mean, I'd hope so, because again, it is the dumbest name.
Okay, I get. Well, it still shows Fandango at Home in the header, but when I was covering this for the movie post that I was doing on AP, a lot of this definitely, like, they still had a name up on the website for like a year and a half after they officially changed it. Whoever runs this service does not give half an F about anything they do on here. They run it like it's a hobby that they get around to once every couple of months.
Yeah. So speaking of companies buying other companies, I guess there was more news on that front, but probably good. So there, iRobot, which is the company that makes the Roomba robot vacuum cleaners, they've been struggling for a long time. I think mostly just because every single other OEM was able to make a comparable product at a very cheaper price. Very cheaper. My brain's melting. I'm sorry.
It's mid-December. Your brain gets to melt.
Yeah. So, them collapsing would not have been ideal for everyone who already owns a Roomba or maybe wants to get one instead of the other options, because they are still better in some ways, depending on which one you get. And they tried to sell themselves to Amazon a while back, but the European Union blocked that because, if Amazon owns Roomba, then every other robot vacuum on Amazon could, mysteriously disappear. Similar to what happened with, streaming players when the Fire TV showed up. So that didn't happen. Roomba kept losing money. Wasn't looking too good. Now they have declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, which is the type of bankruptcy where you hope to make it out in the end. It's not Chapter 7, which is we need to sell everything for scraps instead. So they're going through Chapter 11. The plan they've proposed to the courts is that they are purchased by Paikia Robotics. I don't know how that's pronounced, but Paikia is their primary manufacturer, and that's the company that actually manufactures the Roombas. And earlier this year, they actually bought all of the outstanding debt for Roomba from whichever venture capitalist vultures were owning that. So they bought all of the debt, and their plan is to buy 100% of the company and cancel all of the outstanding debt and pending payments for manufacturing. and just own 100% of the company and take it private so it's not publicly traded anymore, and just keep making Roombas, which seems pretty good. Like that if you're a Roomba owner, this is probably best case scenario. Still remains to be seen if this slightly different iRobot would be competitive still with all of the other companies making these. But sounds pretty good. I guess the one part that was still unclear to me reading this is, what does a smaller, leaner iRobot look like? How many layoffs does that entail? That part might be a problem, but I don't know. Seems pretty good. Privately owned tech companies now sound pretty good to me. I think we've had enough of the poisoning that comes along with we need to make the line go up.
Okay, you say that, but let's not forget Twitter is privately owned now. Not
Yes.
all examples are good.
That's true.
Though, to be fair, I think it would have been much, much, much funnier if some right-winger were to come in and say, I'm going to buy iRobot. I'm going to make Roombas that are
yeah,
alternate
Roomba's
facts.
Roomba's been too woke for a while now. We got to fix this.
Yeah. It believes in cleaning the floors. We're going to fix that. We've decided your floors are already clean. So
the My Pillow iRobot.
Oh yeah. That's the way to do it. Oh boy. We're just going all kinds of places with that.
Roomba that only makes right turns, no left turns.
It's funny you say that, because anyone who actually used original Roombas, or like early, I didn't use an original, but I had one from a fairly early days, and the way that it actually worked, it really did bump into stuff and just keep turning.
Yeah.
It always turned. I think it was to the left. Maybe it was to the right. I don't remember, but it only turned one direction. It would never go the other way. So that's actually kind of real.
That's how mine mostly works, because mine's also a dumb, stupid one that doesn't map floors or anything. It just goes until it bumps and then runs out of battery, and I have to empty it out and go set it on the dock. But yeah, that's the one I have. And then I do remember growing up, we had a early I believe it was a Roomba, but I don't know if it was on accident, but the one we had was very clearly designed to be like a shop vac specifically, so it was like the loudest thing in the when it was running. Sit on the floor, just go for like an hour. So that was a little bit annoying, but it did work.
Yeah, I was gonna say
maybe
that may be annoying, but if it works, because holy crap, original Roombas were novelties. They did do some vacuuming, and like they did pick up some stuff, but they weren't that good.
Yeah, it wasn't like, this is probably 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. So it wasn't early, but wasn't super common either. And we did, to be fair, we did have a German Shepherd at the time, so
yes.
the any vacuums would have to work over time.
Well, so I got mine. I would have gotten mine in, I think it was 2007. I'm pretty sure. And I was living in a newly built house with brand new carpets. So for probably the first 3 months of owning that thing, it basically just picked up a lot of the loose fibers that were left over in brand new carpets. And yeah, so every time it ran, I'd just have to spend like, I think I spent so much time cleaning it out that it kind of negated the value of having a thing that does vacuuming for you. But hey, it is what it is. Also, Digital Fox saying, wait, so it was the Windows 98 Maze screensaver in real life. That is possibly the most amazing connection. And yes, it absolutely was that. It was ridiculous. And I kind of loved it, but also, yeah, it wasn't that good. It wasn't.
Yeah, I mean,
It wasn't good at all.
I mean, I like mine when it's, sometimes it tries to find the nearest power cable and eat it, and it gets stuck. But every other time, it's great. I have like big googly eyes on it, so it looks like a little, fun guy going across my floor. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, the bankruptcy deal has not been like fully confirmed yet, but I'm not sure if there would be a reason why it doesn't happen. And hopefully it works out for everyone who has a Roomba, and it lets Roomba keep existing for the sake of the 274 employees that work at iRobot.
I can't tell if that sounds like too many or too few.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they do sell a lot of stuff, and I don't know, like, they do have a kind of staggering amount of products, more than you'd think. And I don't know how many countries they sell stuff in.
Oh, that's a fair point.
But that might be right if they're, fairly global. You need a lot of marketing and lawyer people, all that fun stuff, distributors. So I guess moving on, next thing, this is kind of quick. The fallout of iOS 26 and Liquid Ass continues. I still have not updated any of my stuff. I'm still on last year's macOS and iOS and iPadOS. I'm installing the bug fix updates that they put out when they find another 0 day. That's it. I don't really want to upgrade. I'll do it eventually, but again, there's still not really a reason for me to do it, and a lot of potential downsides, so I've not done it.
I will say I have in fact updated my MacBook Pro to the latest Mac OS, or latest stable Mac OS. So I am in fact on 26.2, and yeah, look, there are things visually that I am not a fan of, but fortunately they only did a little bit of damage to Mac OS, unlike the catastrophic attempts to ruin iOS that they did. So I think for the most part, I'm not super happy with this update, but I'm kind of okay with it. The ability to turn off liquid glass is certainly ideal, but I think this comes with a catch. I don't think it fixes the other things I don't like. For example, very specifically, they changed the border radius on the corners of windows. For anyone who ever played Magic the Gathering, they basically made all the windows alpha cards instead of the corners of all the regular cards, and I hate it. It drives me nuts. It looks awful. So, yeah, there's that.
I haven't checked in a while, but I did play with it a fair amount in Parallels when the first beta came out, and I was not a fan. But I know they've tweaked it a lot. It's marginally better now.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll keep getting... I'm sure that they will do exactly what I was predicting before, which is they did something too far. They pushed way, way too far. They had to scale it way back, but not all the way. And then over the next year and maybe two, they'll basically progressively scale it completely back, change almost anything that was left, and it will look nothing at all like liquid glass ever again.
Right. Hopefully this is the Windows 8 and we get to the Windows 10 next year. So maybe I'll just wait until next year on the old version.
I have lived through just keeping myself behind by a version or even two before, and I'll tell you, It actually was a pretty decent experience. I didn't have any situations where like, oh no, I can't use some piece of software. In fact, most cases software kept working better because it was running on an old stable version of the operating system instead of whatever they were goofing with that month. So
Yeah.
yeah, honestly, I don't think it's a bad idea to stay behind. The only thing is, at a certain point, one, I wanted to test it. Two, I had to get rid of that stupid red notification marker on the settings app.
Yeah, that's been there for months. I might just take my settings app out of the dock. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting closer and closer to that.
You know what? I'm gonna do that right now because I can always search for it. Now it's gone.
And Hoopy sharing the that conversation you had with the UI designer again, which never going to not be funny.
So the news this week is that Apple rolled out another minor update. So it's iOS 26.2 on macOS. I guess it's macOS 26.2. One of the only differences in this update is that you can now tweak the lock screen. So with iOS 26, they made the clock on the iPhone and iPad lock screen translucent, and it is difficult to see a fair bit of the time, depending on what image you're using, how much contrast is available. And now there's just an opacity slider. So you can crank that all the way back to being a solid color if you want, or make it almost invisible, whatever you want. And mostly just, very small change, but it is another sign of Apple being like, okay, this didn't work. So we need to let people fuss with it if they want. Which again, if they're doing this, I would really just like a entire toggle for everything.
Yeah,
Just
don't make people
because they were
mess with multiple settings spread across different screens.
Right. Because they were doing it during the beta. There's very clearly somewhere in the operating system a global variable that's like how much percent is the opacity, and they were tweaking that through the entire beta process. I would like just a setting for that. Let me do it. Give me the wheel. So maybe they'll do that next year, or just give up on this entirely. Who knows?
And I mean, this kind of goes without saying, but this is an iOS only thing, not macOS. But just for giggles, I did try looking to see in macOS, like, is there a setting like this? And no, there is not. But if you do search for Liquid Glass, there is a setting where you can not turn it off, but you can turn it so that instead of getting the clear glassy look, you can just get a tinted look, which, I mean, that kind of sorts it well enough. It gets rid of the worst parts of Liquid Glass and leaves just some of the annoyances. So
yeah, maybe eventually.
Oh, I sure hope so.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other things I'd love to see fixed too, but I'm not holding my breath. But hey, still better than Windows. Yeah.
So last topic we have here in the list, and then I get to eat dinner and go shopping, is Meta Quest stuff. So last year, Meta announced this thing where they were going to license the operating system and probably some of the hardware, like lower level system component stuff, for other VR headsets. So the operating system was renamed Meta Horizon OS. They were going to build basically let anyone else build a headset with the same software and app store and everything. And they talked to actually I need to pull up my article because mine has some quotes that this one doesn't, but They talked to Lenovo and Asus. Those were the only two companies mentioned as part of the program. That it was as it was announced in when was this? I don't remember. It was like early 2024, I believe. But they've said that like Asus was going to make some kind of like more performance optimized headset. So maybe just a Meta Quest with like another fan on it or something. We don't know. And then Lenovo said they wanted to build kind of multiple devices for like productivity stuff. So maybe closer to a Vision Pro. Not really sure. And they announced that, and then nothing was ever heard about this ever again. No word on this. And then Road to VR. Of course, now I'm kicking myself because I was thinking about this like a month ago, and I was like, I probably should write an article where I like email Meta and be like, hey, what's going on with this? That's what happens when I think of something and then don't write it down immediately. So past Corbin fucked up there. But Road to VR asked Meta, and they said that they have paused the program to focus on building the world-class first-party hardware and software needed to advance the VR market. And then they also said, we're committed to this for the long term and will revisit opportunities for third-party device partnerships as the category evolves.
Sure you will.
Yeah. So I had a couple of opinions on this. I think what was happening is this announcement was the month after this initial announcement of the licensing was a month after the Vision Pro came out. So I think this was one of many things that happened in anticipation of Apple being a huge competitor and putting out a product that people wanted. I think also the existence of Android XR was one of those things. Just everyone expected that Apple would blow this out of the park, and they would, like Asus and Lenovo presumably went to Meta and they were like, hey, we're gonna need something. Can we borrow, your software and operating system and app store? And then the Vision Pro failed. Like, it just was not a product that found a market, whether it was entirely price or other stuff, just didn't work. So I'm sure at that point, if you're Asus or you're Lenovo, you're like, it doesn't seem that important to have an answer to this right now. So I imagine the interest in this kind of faded as the Vision Pro turned into more of a disaster. And then the other factor here was Android XR, which was already announced, I believe, when this happened. And the critical difference being that Android XR has the Google Play Store. It has like normal Android apps. So it's already in a much better position to be like a general computer than anything Meta has made.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a handful of productivity apps on the Quest. There's like Office apps that are kind of just web wrappers. There's a couple more things like that. It's not a category I think they've ever like invested all that much into, and it's not clear even if they did, if like that's what anyone is buying their headsets for, or would, even if that did exist. And there was a report a long time ago where Meta did ask Google if they could like have the Play Store on Quest headsets with some kind of licensing thing, and Google turned them down. I'm sure because they wanted to do Android XR and fully own the thing. So now we do have Android XR, and I've not used the only headset that exists right now, which is the Galaxy XR. I've not used that. My impression, seeing it and having used two Quest headsets, is that Android XR is a lot more polished. It's just a better software experience. Even outside of having the Play Store, it's just more, refined. You can sideload apps on it without it being a massive pain. It just seems like Google and Samsung did a pretty good job there. Whereas the interface and like system apps and stuff on my Quest headset is not ideal. It's pretty buggy. I still have the thing where when I unlock my headset, it takes a good like 5 seconds for the app launcher to show up. It's just like it doesn't. It's not that great. So my impression also is maybe part of why this failed is that Android XR was going to happen, and now that it's out, it's very clearly the better option if you're like Asus and you're like, I need to build a VR thing. I don't know why you wouldn't just go with that. So my hope is that Asus and Lenovo and whoever else was maybe wanting to build a Quest clone pivots and builds Android XR hardware instead, because currently the only Android XR hardware is a headset that costs almost $2,000. And
Yeah.
I cannot afford that at this point in time. But I would still like an Android XR headset. So if someone else can make some more options, that'd be very cool.
Yeah, well, okay, so Hoopy made the comment that having the partners Lenovo and Asus screams this is vaporware. I kind of half agree with that and also don't. Obviously, both companies have been very willing to just sign their name ups to so many projects that end up never happening. So yes, that's pretty accurate. The
And
counter.
Lenovo has made VR stuff before that. They made some Windows mixed reality headsets. They made the Daydream thing that was like the dev kit or whatever. So they've done this before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if Asus ever did anything.
I remember seeing a thing that Asus was working on. I don't think it ever materialized. That being said,
I remember Acer made a Windows mixed reality headset, but I don't believe Asus ever did. That's the only one coming to mind.
Right, but that was a release product. What I'm saying is I think Asus did make or was working on one. They just never released it. At least to my recollection. Maybe they did, and I just don't know, or maybe they did in a different country. Who knows? With all that said, like I think Asus is technically capable and probably in a position where they need to start maybe diving into that space. So I kind of like the idea of them being in it. Whether or not it actually is going to materialize, again, don't know. But having them there would be a good thing. Hopefully. And also, yes, having them there and delivering hardware that's on a reasonable price would be a even better thing. That's when it comes to price and quality, I don't have the highest expectations for Lenovo. I think their price might be okay. I think the quality is going to be below where I would want it. Asus, I think, is the company that's more likely to strike that balance of making a product that is going to be at least cheaper than Samsung, not exactly the highest bar, and still be good. Maybe not great. It might not live up to the same quality standards, but I think Asus is that type of company that could at least look at what can we make that's going to be worth having. And I think they might actually be able to do that right. Maybe. I mean, that might be a big ask, but it feels more plausible.
Yeah, and we never knew like anything about the hardware they were working on, what kind of price segment they were going for. I think like the like Quest 3 $400, $500 price point is very different than what the Galaxy XR has. So ideally, I would like something closer to the middle, or I think I know we both said this when Android XR was first announced, of like someone has to make a $300, $400 headset with this. like for the platform to be a comparable alternative to Quest, because that's why Meta owns this hardware category, is they sold them for like $200 sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just by far the most accessible one of these. So if you're competing with them, I think you need to have something in that price segment. So
Yeah.
I just need someone to try that. I personally would like something a little bit better. Again, not $2,000, but like if you can get like okay specs in there and give me like an OLED or like just a nice LCD with deep blacks, that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, no word on that yet. I don't know if whatever they were planning could be reworked into Android XR or if they even care to. For all we know, maybe this will turn into a thing where most of the Android XR stuff is glasses. Kind of like what happened with Android Wear and Wear OS, where they supported both square and round screens, but then just everyone decided to only build round smartwatches.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows?
So Hoopy makes a good question here, and I mean, in various capacities, I think we've asked this and discussed this a few times, but saying how much does Meta own the like VR, AR, XR space versus how much are they just the only one putting something out that's I guess accessible would be the word. And truthfully, I think it is almost entirely the latter. I don't think Meta owns the space at all. And maybe I'm wrong. I mean, obviously, like, there is software development happening in that space, and obviously the majority of it is happening on Meta because that's the product that is out and at a price that people can actually afford, or at least some portion of people. So yeah, I think Meta has a lead. But I don't feel like they own the space, in large part because I have heard so many people say over and over again that they would love to have something like this. They just don't want it to be Meta. And then when you start looking around, it's like, okay, they don't want it to be Meta. They might be okay with it being Apple, but they're not happy with what Apple came out with. They might be okay with it being Samsung and Google, but again, like, maybe that's too expensive, or they're not really happy with that, or at least they're waiting to see how that turns out. I think we're in that spot where a lot of people are willing to wait, or maybe they already tried the Meta Quest and were like, okay, it kind of got some of it done, but it's not really what we were looking for. I don't know, but I kind of feel like a lot of people really just want it to be anybody but Meta. And even if people are willing to buy into Meta's thing right now, I think it's only a matter of time. Once anyone comes out with something that is good enough and not outrageously priced, I think we're going to see a large swing of people going, okay, yep, this is what we were waiting for. Cool, thanks. Meta, it was fun while it lasted. Bye.
Yeah, I think right now my impression of the VR market is that it's just like Windows PCs and Macs, or really Android phones and iPhone, where it's just like, yeah, there's one option that is by far more accessible and like maybe generally leans towards lower end hardware. But there's always been the other segment that exists.
Oh boy. I get what you're saying and I see the parallel, but man,
it's not an exact comparison, but it's definitely like the thing that is popular is there because it's affordable and like okay.
Yeah. And
then
the
there's
thing
always
is,
been,
I can't even come up with a way. I can't think of why I think it's completely different. I just feel like it's completely different because, and every single thought I have of like why, uh, or how I would try to argue it, I run into the, yeah, but wait, I would literally say everything you just said on paper, it all matches perfectly. The thing is, I feel like with Windows, the issue is Windows did earn it at one point in history. I know not everyone will agree with that. There are certainly some Mac loyalists out there that will argue till the end of time that Mac was obviously better and so on and so forth. But at one point in history, Windows was just objectively making the biggest moves. They were doing more. It was growing faster, and they earned that place. They actually earned having that that lead.
And there's always been a wide variety of hardware with PCs, whereas Meta has, I think the most they've ever made at the same time is 3 devices. They always had, well, in recent history, they've had the Quest, the really cheap one, which is the Quest 2, and then the 3S, and then they have the better one, which is the 3. And then for a while they had a more expensive one, which was the Quest Pro, but they killed that a while back.
Yeah. It obviously there was a point where Mac was obviously overpriced and not really performance comparable. Though I feel like that's a messy area to draw a distinction, because a lot of PCs ran pretty crappy even with pretty good hardware. And then Linux was just too complicated for most users. But yeah, I look at where Meta is right now, and I feel like they didn't earn their position. They bought a company that was on the way to earning that position, and then they just kind of stopped developing anything that was supposed to make the tech better. They just started trying to find a way to make it money, which led, of course, to that whole metaverse and what is it, Horizon Worlds, I think was the name. They went down a real stupid road that obviously did not pan out. And so again, like it would be kind of like if Windows had started like Windows 3.0 and 3.1, and then they maybe developed 95 and were like, okay, you know what? We're good right here. 95 is actually some pretty solid tech. Let's just now control the game market. And that's not really a good stopping point. That's not getting you where you need to go. So yeah, I to me, that's maybe more the comparison point. Meta just stopped doing the research and doing the like expensive hard things, and they did the expensive stupid things instead. So yeah, I think that's where I have to draw the line, is that's where they screwed up. And that's why I think so many other companies, if they can work out their stuff and get their prices low enough for at least some entry-level hardware, I think we're gonna see a whole bunch of developers and users all saying, "Oh, good! Finally, someone else is in the game," and now we'll all just flood over to that. At least I hope so.
Again, whenever someone can make an Android XR headset that's not $2,000, and it is some kind of upgrade from my Quest 3, they have my money, and the Quest 3 will go into the ocean for the eels to eat because they like batteries.
Yes. Tasty,
I don't really want
lithium ion.
Yeah, I don't really want a side grade, but
I mean, is it really a side grade if you're getting something that doesn't have Meta's software on it?
it I a little while ago I would have said it would still be worthwhile, but it's like, well, Google's also pulling some shit, so I don't know. They're all kind of bad, but I would. It's true. I would like 3D scans of my apartment to not go to Mark Zuckerberg specifically, if I can avoid it.
Yeah, Sundar is way less cringy with your apartment.
Yeah, I mean, he's not even looking at it. He's asking Gemini to summarize what's in my apartment.
Yeah, that actually checks out.
He said, I know Corbin has an irrational attachment to OLED VR, but it's overrated. I mean, here's the thing: is like, even if it's like a little bit of an improvement, I would still like it. Just I would like it to be better. I've seen the limitations of LCD. Again, it's fine most of the time, but as soon as I'm playing something that's like in a dark level or something, doesn't look good. And I know there's like differences in different OLED and LCD tech. So like maybe someone can put a really nice LCD in there and it's fine. But that's kind of where I'm at. Again, if I'm going through the process of like upgrading and then selling the Quest 3 and stuff, I'd like it to be more of an upgrade. So
that seems reasonably fair. So yeah, I don't know. I've said this before. I would love to have a VR headset, but my expectations are, to me, it's not really worth it until at least it's giving me, it needs to give me a good enough resolution that text is not terrible to read. Because I really want it. I want it for the purpose I keep saying. I want to be able to put a desktop screen up there, have the effect of an ultra wide, and that way it's a better like coding environment, a better working environment than anything that you can do on a desktop without an ultra wide. Because I want to be able to sit in my living room in a chair, or I want to be able to go lean back in bed or something like that and just have an ultra wide basically hovering in front of me. That to me is the goal. I certainly would also like to be able to sit on a plane or wherever and watch a movie or something like that, all that stuff. But yeah, for me, having decent text, a good resolution for moderately sharp text is kind of the threshold. And of course, I do also want I want games and I want other things that are entertainment and whatever else, but those are kind of the lower priority items, at least for now. As far as like having OLED versus LCD, I don't have enough of a comparison point. I get why Corbin wants OLED, and I think I would probably get there myself, but I'm not picky about it right now.
Yep. Again, someone make an Android XR headset that is less than the cost of my rent. That's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah, that's fair.
Someone get on that.
And Digital Fox is offering up the counterpoint that the Vive to the Valve Index was a downgrade, which I don't know enough. Well, I've used a Vive. Long ago at CES, I got to play with the Vive, and it did look pretty incredible, with the notable exception that the resolution, in my opinion, was... I mean, it was okay. It was better than whatever... It was better than whatever was... what was the name of the Quest before... the Oculus. It was better than what the Oculus, whatever their current model was at the time. But like that's not saying a lot. The resolution just wasn't really there otherwise. But it still did look pretty good. And I haven't used a Valve Index. I have no idea if maybe there could be other reasons why it's a visual downgrade, but yeah, I get it. And like I said, I think OLED is the better option here, but I don't know how much of a difference that makes. I just have no immediate context for it.
Yeah, I went from the just straight from the Quest 2 to Quest 3, and the Quest 2 resolution was bad. It was very stinky. I had not used anything recently before that, because I only had a Windows mixed reality headset, but that went to family member a while ago, so not in my possession at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I just said this a couple days ago, or maybe less. But I feel like goggles. Well, there's obviously just pure VR, which VR is its own thing. But in terms of like AR and XR, I kind of feel like we're in that place just like folding phones. They're really cool. Some people are obviously going to be early adopters and really enjoy them. Other people would be early adopters and throw this stuff in a junk drawer. And the quality level is going to have to rise quite a bit before like the normal person should be using any of this. Obviously we kind of skipped that point because thanks to Meta, obviously there were a bunch of relatively low cost Quest headsets. So, there are tons of normies using this, but I think we've still got a few years before it reaches that good inflection point where the quality is actually there to warrant using it, and it's going to start becoming worth having in like daily life. But that may be a ways out.
Mm-hmm.
Or I expect it to be a ways out.
Yep. That's all I have to say.
Pretty much me too. I think it's been think that pretty much exhausted us on topics. And let's see. You have every intention of going to grab food and shop. Was that right?
Yep.
All right. Well,
go to the store.
I suppose I should not keep you trapped here any longer. With that, let's see. Digital Fox added, to be fair, the index has higher resolution, just that dark levels are worse than 5. Really depends on what you're doing. Yeah, that would definitely factor in. If you're projecting any sort of dark environment, OLED is going to make a huge difference. Whereas obviously I would assume if you're doing more kind of like the conference room style, everything's lit up sort of environment or something like that, or even certain games, I would assume that you're not going to care as much about the black levels. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I mean the Quest 3 and like brighter stuff is fine. It's just when it gets to darker, it's like, oh, this is a lot of light bleed.
Yeah. Which not speaking of light bleed, but just aware of it. That's been one of the things that I still, every time I take out the anti-gravity A1 drone and fly around, since that's always wearing goggles, I every single time I put them on, I kind of notice, oh yeah, I've got a little light bleed down in the corners. It's not enough to be a problem, but it is enough that I'm always aware of it, which actually just kind of highlights the fact that I really need those goggles to just be a little bit bigger so they fit nicer. But yeah, different situation, I'm sure. All right. Anyway, so with that, think we're gonna wrap it up. So I was planning on posting I was planning on posting a review of the A1 today. That kind of got hung up for other reasons. And unfortunately, because of a few other things I have to get done, it probably won't be tomorrow, but I think I'll be posting it Friday. And I've taken it out on a lot more flights. I look forward to showing off some of that because I definitely took a couple of some interesting shots, some really cool shots. So I'm looking forward to hearing what people think of that. Anyway, so let's see. And again, game streams will be continuing on for the next couple of weeks, even though the RambleCast will be taking a bit of a break. So come check those out if you'd like to see those. Again, I might also post something RambleCast-y somewhere along the middle of the weeks, but no specific plans yet. We'll see how that turns out. As usual, if anyone would like to support the channel, there are links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. And of course, huge thanks to supporters of the channel: David, Diablo, Austin, Carson, and Alyssa. Y'all are awesome. And if you just happen to be shopping and would like to help out, just visit my site. There's a recommendations page with some product links. If you shop on those sites after clicking those links, I get a little cut of the profits. It costs you nothing, and that is supremely helpful as well. All right. Anyway, with that, I hope everyone has an excellent rest of their evening and a great rest of their week, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
And Merry Christmas to all.